Rockstar did not just announce the price of Grand Theft Auto 6. It may have announced the price of the next era of gaming. The confirmed standard edition is $79.99. The Ultimate Edition is $99.99. Pre-orders are opening before launch, and the physical version is being reported as a box with a download code inside, not a disc. That is the part that makes this bigger than one game, because Grand Theft Auto 6 is not a normal release. This is not some random sequel trying to test a higher price because the publisher thinks it can get away with it. This is one of the most anticipated games in the history of the medium. It is the kind of release that pulls in casual players, hardcore players, console owners, parents buying gifts, collectors, streamers, creators, and people who may not buy many games at all. So, when Grand Theft Auto 6 moves, the rest of the industry watches. And that is the real story. Not just that Grand Theft Auto 6 costs $80. Not just that the premium edition costs $100. Not just that the physical box may not include a disc. The real question is what happens if everybody buys it anyway? Because if the biggest game of the generation succeeds at $80 with a physical product that does not actually include a physical disc, then other publishers get a very clear signal. Players may complain, players may post, players may argue online. But when the checkout opens, the industry is going to watch what players actually do. That is why this matters. This is not just a Grand Theft Auto story. This is a pricing story. It is an ownership story. It is a physical media story. It is a story about how much power one game can have over the rest of the market. And it is a story about what players are actually buying when they buy a game in 2026. So let's separate the confirmed facts from the bigger question. Grand Theft Auto 6 is scheduled to launch on November 19th, 2026 on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. The standard edition is $79.99. The Ultimate Edition is $99.99. Pre-orders open on June 25th. Digital pre-order bonuses include the Vintage Vice City pack, and some digital buyers get a free month of GTA+. Physical copies are being reported as retail boxes with a download code inside and no confirmed disc. That last piece is the part that changes the conversation, because an $80 game is already a debate. An $80 game in a box with no disc becomes something else. It asks players to accept a higher price and less traditional ownership at the same time, and Grand Theft Auto 6 might be the one game strong enough to make that feel normal. To understand why this matters, you have to remember how game pricing got here. For years, $60 was the number people were used to seeing for major console games. Then the current generation pushed $70 into the mainstream. That shift did not happen all at once. It started with certain next-generation releases, especially big sports and premium games, and players pushed back. People complained about rising prices. They questioned whether games were really worth more. They pointed to microtransactions, deluxe editions, battle passes, and downloadable content. But over time, $70 became normal. Not because every player loved it, because enough players accepted it. That is usually how pricing shifts in gaming. A publisher tests the ceiling. Players react. The market measures whether the reaction turns into lost sales or just online frustration. Then other publishers decide whether they can follow. Grand Theft Auto 6 matters because it may be the cleanest test of the next ceiling. If a smaller game launches at $80, players can ignore it. If a mid-level franchise does it, the backlash might actually damage sales. If a new intellectual property does it, the risk is even higher. But Grand Theft Auto 6 is different. Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold hundreds of millions of copies. Grand Theft Auto Online has kept the franchise alive for more than a decade. Rockstar has built one of the strongest brands in gaming. This is one of the few releases where many players are already emotionally committed before the price is even shown. That gives Rockstar unusual pricing power. The argument in favor of the price is easy to understand. Games are expensive to make. Grand Theft Auto 6 has been in development for years. Expectations are enormous. The scale, detail, technology, writing, voice work, world design, music, and online support all cost money. Inflation is real. The cost of labor has gone up. The cost of making a game at this level is not the same as it was 10 or 15 years ago. And if any game can make the case that it is bigger than a normal game, it is this one. But the argument against the price is just as real. Players are tired. They are already paying more for hardware, subscriptions, online services, digital storefronts, deluxe editions, cosmetic stores, and live service add-ons. A $10 increase might not sound huge by itself, but it does not exist by itself. It lands inside a wider economy where everything feels more expensive. And that is before you get to the physical copy issue. For a lot of players, a physical game box used to mean something simple. You owned the disc. You could install it. You could lend it. You could trade it. You could sell it. You could put it on a shelf. You could keep it as part of a collection. A box with a download code changes that relationship. It still looks physical from the outside, but the value is digital on the inside. That means the purchase depends more heavily on accounts, storefronts, servers, downloads, storage space, and long-term access rules. For collectors, that can feel like the worst of both worlds. You get the plastic case, but not the actual media that made the case matter. That is where this story becomes bigger than Grand Theft Auto. Because the industry has been moving this direction for a long time, digital sales have grown, physical shelf space has declined. Some hardware versions do not even include disk drives by default. Stores still sell boxes, but more and more of those boxes are becoming access cards instead of actual physical products. Grand Theft Auto 6 could accelerate that shift. If people line up for an $80 physical box that contains a code that gives publishers a powerful message, they can still get retail visibility. They can still sell giftable products. They can still put something on store shelves, but they do not need to manufacture and distribute a traditional disc in the same way. That matters for retailers too. A retailer can sell the box, but what is the product now? Is it a collectible case? Is it a gift card? Is it a digital license dressed up like a physical edition? That sounds like a small detail, but it affects resale, preservation, lending, and collecting. If there is no disc, there is no normal used copy. If there is no disc, the long-term preservation picture gets weaker. If there is no disc, physical buyers are still tied to the digital ecosystem. And if the biggest game in the world makes that feel acceptable, the rest of the industry has less reason to hold back. That is the ripple. This is not just about whether you personally are willing to pay $80 for Grand Theft Auto 6. This is about what publishers learn from millions of people doing it. If Grand Theft Auto 6 breaks records at this price, other companies will not say that only worked because it was Grand Theft Auto. Some will say the market has moved. That could affect the next wave of major releases. Standard editions could creep toward $80. Premium editions could move even higher. Collector editions could become more expensive while including less actual physical media. Subscription services could become more attractive to players who want to avoid launch prices, but also more limited if the biggest games stay outside those services for longer. Digital storefronts could gain even more control over access. Collectors could become more dependent on special editions, limited runs, or secondary markets. And players who wait for sales might find that the starting point is simply higher than it used to be. That does not mean every game will instantly cost $80. That would be overstating it. Not every publisher has Rockstar level power. Not every franchise can survive that jump. Not every game has the demand to absorb a higher entry price. Some games still need lower prices, discounts, early access, subscriptions, or free-to-play models to reach an audience. But Grand Theft Auto 6 can be both the exception and the rule. It is the exception because almost no game has this much demand. It can become the rule because other publishers use exceptional games to justify new standards. That is what happened with $70 games. The first examples were debated, then the price spread, then the number started feeling normal. The question now is whether $80 follows the same path. There is another layer here too. Grand Theft Auto 6 is not just selling a game, it is selling certainty. For many players, this is the one game they already know they are buying. They may complain about the price, but they are not seriously considering skipping it. They may dislike the code in box format, but if that is the only way to buy a shelf copy, they may still do it. That is why this is such a powerful test. The industry is not only watching the comments, it is watching behavior. Do players pre-order? Do players buy the standard edition? Do players jump to the ultimate edition? Do physical buyers still buy the box? Do collectors reject the code format? Does backlash stay online, or does it actually change purchasing? Those answers matter more than any one reaction thread. And for everyday gamers, the uncomfortable part is that the market can move even if you personally disagree with the direction. You might wait for a sale. You might refuse to buy a code in box product. You might choose digital and not care about discs at all. You might buy the Ultimate Edition because Grand Theft Auto is your favorite series. All of those choices are individual. But collectively, they tell publishers what the next standard can be. That is why this story belongs on GamingRealm, because it is not just gaming news. It is a moment where the business of gaming touches the normal player directly. Your wallet feels it, your shelf feels it, your download speed feels it, your storage space feels it, your sense of ownership feels it, and the next major release you care about may feel it too. So, what is the takeaway? Grand Theft Auto 6 is probably strong enough to sell at $80. That is not really the shocking part. The shocking part is what that success could teach the rest of the industry. If this launch works, the next debate will not be whether Grand Theft Auto 6 deserved the price. The debate will be why every other major publisher thinks its biggest game deserves the same treatment. And that is where players should pay attention. Not because physical games vanish overnight, not because every release instantly jumps to $80, not because ownership is gone tomorrow, but because standards change slowly, then suddenly feel normal. 60 became 70. Physical became digital. Discs became optional. Boxes became codes. And now the biggest game of the generation is testing whether $80 can become the new starting line. That is the real story. Grand Theft Auto 6 did not just reveal a price. It may have shown the industry how much more players are willing to accept. The question now is whether players draw a line, or whether this becomes the new normal. So, I want to know where you stand. Are you buying Grand Theft Auto 6 at launch at this price? And would you still buy a physical box if the only thing inside is a download code?